Hello everyone, and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. We have a 4v4 for you guys today on Highway to Seoul. This is the 3v3 version of the map, so of course it does have the other extra zones on the left-hand side there, and we have a special guest for you guys today. That's Quicksilver, who is a major and was playing on my team for this match. Quicksilver, you want to say hello?
Hello.
Always so succinct. Alright, so I'm headed over to Feder, and I'm going to be fighting in Gregory and Chariton this game, but I thought maybe Quick could talk a little bit about the deployment, especially in the more busy three-player side of the map.
So we have player 23 and I going to Dimitri, and David Do going to Elena. I've kind of just situated myself in the middle between the two to help out and support. I kind of went where nobody else wanted to go. So
Gotcha.
I spawned in a Sokol and a Salamander to help escort this helicopter opener of player 23. So we're going to be met with Daps and Panthers and a few Tigers as well.
That's a really heavy investment in helicopters, but it looks like that's, what, 2 different players doing that, and a couple of casualties there too, so looks like some paratroopers are lost, and I just have to wonder, I mean, is this something you expected to see, or is this, was that a bit of a surprise?
I kind of always expect to see a helicopter drop on Dimitri, or at least a helo opener at the very least, when you got Eurocorps and America on the enemy team. You just got the perfect things. We just saw my MiG-21 BIS coming in. I bought it as a reaction to come kill the Tiger. Omos gets shot down by the Daps, but makes it out alive.
It looks like between that and the Roms and the Praskas, that was handled decently well. And then, just to take a brief detour back over to my side, I sort of got a little bit hog wild with some Gamma 2s and Heros. We did take out a couple of helicopters, including some paratroopers there with the Gamma 2s, but the rest of my force is a little bit slow. So I had some motorized on the ground here, but the rest of my force mechanized coming in a little bit late, and I will eventually pay for that, but we'll see that when it gets here, because it looks like there's more action over on this side. So how important is Dimitri in this map? Because it is 2 points instead of Elena's 1, and I know Elena's usually the point of contention in the smaller, the 2v2 version, but is that the same here, or is that a little bit different?
So no, Dimitri is definitely the main feature of this map, because as you said, it is a 2-pointer. Hence why I'm trying my best to help push in and secure it as best I can. I've also got defense down the highway, because often defense down the highway is often overlooked and can be very deadly, because you can just walk a transport down there with an autocannon and get some sneaky CV kills.
I like the triple spike, 1, 2, 3, all in different locations, and they certainly are having some pretty good effects here. I mean, looks like M1 Abrams spam, which it's a little expensive to do that with, don't you think? 65 points for each one of those tanks. They don't really have all that much punch, so 3 of them getting lost, no smoke cover, nothing like that. You hate to see it, and man, that just seems a little bit rough.
That's why I put the spikes there. I knew one of the players switched to American Armored 1980s last second, so I was expecting a lot of tanks.
So over on this side, I get a little bit ahead of myself. I was hoping to get all the way up to these woods before they were able to respond, and I wasn't quite able to do it. So I have Pado out here, I have Graniciari, Brzydskaya Pez, and this is the point where I probably should have said, okay, you know what, let's just get out of dodge before I lose all this stuff, because I was still thinking in my head at this point, well, it's just light riflemen, it's just rangers, I have some support from the Tabs, this could still be good, but look at all this stuff behind. So Han De-hun, who was my opponent on this side of the field most of the time, has an M1, there's another heavier tank, I think it's an HC over on this side, and more reinforcements, and this is just going to be not cost effective at all. So I think I really just jumped the gun. If I had gone to this section of trees and then over here on the left, I think that would have been a better hold, because I could have made it here, that wouldn't have been a problem.
Even if you moved your recon up a bit, you probably would have spotted a lot of that before continuing to push.
Well, so that's why I had the Graniciari, right?
Yeah, but they get blocked by those trees there. So
yeah, that's true. That's true. I got pretty good use out of the NRZ, but sorry.
Yeah, great use of the NRZ there. Is what I was about to say.
Thank you. It's a bit of a niche sort of helicopter, but when those rock butts hit, man, that really hits pretty hard. So I'm trying to lock down more of Chariton, but this has turned into a bit of a mess over here in Elena. So the defense on the road, I think, is really what cleared out this section of open ground, and that really forces the Blue 4 team into a weird concave here. So, I mean, was that the intention with this sort of hold, or was that just sort of lucky happenstance?
My intention was to hold and push up that highway as much as I can.
So just right
You'll
down
see
the
in the
pipe kind of thing? Or what are we
just
talking about?
right, yeah, right down the pipe in the forests down the line. It is really easy to cut off reinforcements for Dimitri if you get that little corner forest off the side of it. So
Right here?
yep, that one. Yeah, that one right there. So,
So the
that was the
Aracos, they're
yeah,
kind
push
of
the
on their
Aracos
own.
up. Yeah, I was pushing them up to see what he had up in there. A bit more than I could chew, but I managed to pull them out and get them repaired back up.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, riflemen don't have wheels for feet, so you have half
Yeah.
again their speed on the ground. A10 Thunderbolt, this was pretty good play by the look of it. A couple of nice kills there, and is he able to get out? No.
not if
Oh,
my
that's
not
rough.
if my Erico have anything to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I love these
With
guys
the-
so much. The Fighting Falcon, though, is going to be a pretty devastating follow-up. That's rough. That's a lot of points in the air. You have to remember, I mean, this is the same, that's the USA player, so that's a lot of tanks lost already. The A10's not that cheap. It's a pretty heavy investment to get taken down that early.
Yeah, so I'm constantly splitting my forces between Dimitri and Elena to try and help support. I've got
Let's take a look at your deployment. So everything that Quicksilver owns is now in red instead of orange, and we'll pop back over to mine, but while we're looking here, this seems a bit more appropriate. So, let's see. Big fight here. Were you getting good support from Davidu, or was that sort of... was it easy or difficult to coordinate, I guess is my question.
David seemed to do pretty well. He was reacting really well off what I was buying for him, and his support was much appreciated in the middle area. Of
Nice.
course, he also has to defend more to the right of Jot as well, so...
It doesn't look like there was that much aggression coming in. Sometimes players really dash across this open field, and sometimes it doesn't really seem like they do very much.
Yeah,
I guess
it's always
just
good to have
the flavor of the
defenses
day.
there just to be prepared. Lots of use of my recon tanks and Erico going around.
Yeah, definitely. It's a shame these guys couldn't get out, though. I mean, that's a really expensive, low availability unit, and they're just jack of all trades sort of thing, but I think... Ooh, wait, is he? I would have thought that the M11383 would have killed him by now, but... Oh, jeez.
I
Fair
didn't
enough.
want to cut you off, but don't count the Erico out until they're actually dead, so...
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, hey, never hesitate to cut me off. I ramble for a hobby, so you might have to try to get a word in edgewise. I want to just take a look back over here, because I think there were a couple of things. There's an M1A1 HA Abrams that's up pretty far, and my Igmans are not really cut out for this. So I was trying to get the Matliukas online for support on a push later on, but this is too far forward, and my M84As aren't really that made for it as well. But this was a really interesting interaction. So the HA is taking some fire from the M84A. I lose both the Igmans, which is pretty expensive, and I was trying to get the second gun online, but we couldn't actually get it. So they're shooting at riflemen. I was trying to force them over this way to the left so I could get that rate of fire to kill the HA Abrams, because I mean, now my M84A is taking fire, but we got just close enough that US Marines 90 opened up on me, and I was so pissed at this because I was sitting there going, double M84A, I could take out the HA. It's very nearly dead. We did actually just get the kill there, so that little bit of fire was the HA going up, but the other M84A was completely unnecessary to lose, and I was just sitting there going, that's the sort of mistake that loses you a side, because if we look now, I have Proletary here, but no infantry, one damaged M84A, very much a bad trade into the HA Abrams. And Chariton is a map that, well, it's a zone we need to hold, right? Because the Blue 4 teams capped the +2, Elena is a bit of a no man's land at the moment. If they cap Chariton as well, I mean, we're up 103 points, but that won't last forever at +2. So I just wanted to say I was really sad.
Yeah, but it goes to show just how deadly infantry can be in forest and how fragile tanks can be. It's why I kind of lean towards a moto playstyle.
Yeah, and it's definitely one that I'm usually on myself, but when I play Yugoslavia, I just love the M84 line. It's pretty nice.
Fantastic tanks, fantastic.
Yeah. So I was going to ask
one
you,
of
we
the-
saw a couple of radar AA pieces back here. How do you manage seed planes in a 4v4 like this, where everybody has so much AA and there's going to be ASFs all over the place? How do you really do that?
Either you don't take planes out at all, or you only bomb and attack planes of units that have extended past their AA range. Like everyone's got like an AA net, so if they're pushing units past that, then you can engage them. Either
Gotcha.
that, or you can just spam a couple of cheap planes with a seed behind it, and if you know where the AA is, you can bomb it with the seed behind it, and they have one or two choices: die by the bombs or die by the seed.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. I mean, it just seems like bombing runs are also so deadly. I mean, the Fighting Falcon was just taken out from Joe Violence. He had previously lost the A-10. It's just, it seems like you would think, looking at all these units in a team game, you'd think the bombing runs would become more effective because there's just stuff everywhere. But if everything becomes a one-way trip, that's going to be hard to pay off.
Exactly. It's you always gotta weigh up your pros and cons of is it worth losing this bomber to kill that unit. Sometimes sometimes killing a unit can make or break capturing that zone, so it can be worth it in the long run. But
so just to clarify, you are playing as Baltic Moto here, right?
Yeah, correct, yeah.
So the heaviest tank you have available is this T-55 Pion, and I do love this tank, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of H.A. Abrams. We have some from Best Pony, we have some from Joe Violence, and Wolf with the M11Ps as well. It has to be a little bit scary trying to keep alive your biggest possible tank when everything around you is bigger and meatier and scarier. More expensive.
Well, more expensive, that's where they lose out. My T-55 AM, it's not the heaviest tank, it's got quite a punch at 17 AP, and you normally get the first shot off.
Yeah, I mean, medium stealth on this tank is pretty nice, and the good optics, so he scouts for himself, right? So if you have a non-recon tank like this H.A. Abrams, he's reliant on recon in the area, and if you lose it, or if it's, like, let's say the recon's back here. So recon is a bubble, basically, and if that bubble doesn't extend, well, your HA is going to run in blind and get hit by a bunch of Padopranki. So, that seems like the trade-off.
What I lack in AP in the T-55, I make up for with the spikes and the Spardos and the Eriko.
Are these ROMs? Holy cow.
Yep.
Your AA net has been insane. 2 double stacks of ROMs, and nothing's getting out. ITO 90 as well, yeah. Okay, and I guess you also had the Eriko forward for a little while, but is this that? No, that's a new Eriko. So the one hero Eriko unit did get killed by the look of it.
Unfortunately so, yeah. I do lose quite a few Eriko in this one, but they more than make their points back.
Gotcha. So I think let's stay over here on the right for just a minute. At some point there is some good combat in Chariton, and we'll switch back over. But I think for right now, this is probably, there's more going on. I mean, it looks like player 23 is having a decently good time here. Motostrelci and Proletary in the woods. This is beautiful, beautiful work. So oftentimes it's really hard to go down this straight because people will have stuff in this forest, they'll have stuff at the end. Anything you send across is just going to get shot to pieces. But if you can take the high ground here, my only qualm with it is one group of Specialny Jednotki up on the top, and that gives you vision down on that ridge. I think much more effectively, but it was nice to see that sort of play, and it definitely made me happier over on this side, knowing that I didn't have to worry about people threading through. So
yeah, it's all about managing your blind spots. Me pushing on the right of Dimitri and constantly keeping pressure on that relieved a lot of pressure off of him, so you could spread out to the left of Dimitri.
And it looks like the same thing's happening in Elena, so your units were fighting pretty well in the center of Elena for a while. It looks like a couple of, I mean, you took a fair number of casualties there, but I guess that's to be expected when you're fighting 2.5 players between 2 different zones. But it looks like Davidu has really spread out pretty well. So we have Razvedka just spotting on this side, we have an Osa defending against helicopters, Conqueror's teams. I mean, this is classic. Only thing, I guess, that's not right there on this side that I would say is just some Motostrelki a bit farther forward. But then we have Spetsnaz Gru, T-80, VDV. I mean, there's a lot of meat here from Davidu at this point, and I think that's going to be hard for Violence to deal with, given the number of casualties he's taken already at your hands.
Yeah.
Which,
so,
I mean, this is a game. It always strikes me as a game that snowballs really, really hard in the mid game.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, it was quite the stalemate for most of the game. It wasn't until like the very end that their front lines eventually break. Spoiler.
Spoilers.
I also, I don't know if I've bought it yet, but I think I buy Urigan at the, I got the finish.
The Rock 91, which is just a finish Urigan. That's all it is. 11 HE power. I think it's even the same thing. It's just renamed, right? complete
Yeah,
stack
it's the
clone.
exact same thing, just, yeah, stack clone, just renamed. I've been using that to great effect to help my pushes by stunning and killing some units before pushing in. So,
Just while we're on the topic of artillery, we did also have a Smirch from Davidu and an Orkan from me as well, but mine was a bit of a weird positional buy because I'd wanted him over on my side to get tighter groupings into Chariton, but I paid for that with not really being able to reinforce it, well, resupply off the fobs. So let's switch back over to my perspective for just a second. Anything you see on this push that is notable or I could have done better, I'm all ears, because I needed to retake Chariton. I have now some M91 AV hordes, a bunch of infantry in the Oats, and this is sort of going to be the start of my attempt to retake this. And the first thing I did was some T-55s and M84As around the side, quickly supported by the Sava, which I'd meant to already have, but I ran out of fuel. And then just right down the pipe. Yeah, he did. So this Sava was up on top of this plateau, and when we lost the position up on top of it, I had to retreat him all the way back down while he was getting chased by a recon vehicle, which was just hilarious. But, you know, he went all the way up, all the way back, ran out of fuel. So I'm trying to get something else up there, and the L-17K is just looking for that DAP because, I mean, they have decent optics, I think, yeah, medium optics, and I didn't want them spotting anything, I didn't want them shooting anything down. It was, I don't know, it was a weird choice. Probably not my best decision. And here it comes. So Proletary, M60 PBs for that nice burst damage, and then a couple of Vidras in the back for their ATGMs more than anything else. And my hope is just to crush right through the trees.
The only thing I would suggest is having some 5-pointer infantry just to screen and absorb shots for you, to allow your shocks and your heavy tanks to go unattacked, unopposed through Chariton. But other than that, this is a textbook push. You got the smoke, you've got the infantry, you got the fire support, you got the recon coming up.
Yeah, so the smoke, by the way, at the time I wasn't sure if that H.A. Abrams was dead. I couldn't really check, and I thought I saw an explosion, but holy cow, that was a firing concave. Damn. So that's what the smoke was for, is to protect against incoming fire on the M91A V4 and the M84A. So I'm not sure it was necessarily worth it at the end, but I mean, always better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it, right?
Not have it, exactly.
And then, I mean, there's Rifleman 90, US Marines, but the Oats and the Bovs were just brutal here. So what this did was it also pulled forward my opponent's H1J Cobra, and that said to me, okay, well, I need Savas up here. I have resupply now with the Sava on the left, but I needed more anti-air than I had. I think that's another big weakness of what I had going on here.
Yeah, I think people tend to forget, like, when their AA dies, like, if they've killed one or two things, they don't typically, like, their knee-jerk reaction isn't to buy more AA. You'll see me throughout all my games, if I have any AA die, I'm instantly bringing up another one to try and cover that thing, because it takes one or two helicopters to come in and wipe out all your tanks, a longbow and a Cobra. And
oh, and a longbow definitely did me dirty here later on. Even just the Cobra killing the T-55 was kind of upsetting, but I mean, other than that, the BVPs do have okay-ish range against helicopters, just not quite good enough. And you can see I get up onto the plateau just a bit, but we're going to be retreating back until I have better cover. So for now, this is good enough, right? I have a coat in here, we've recaptured Chariton for right now, I have a forward position now with infantry, so I'm not, like, trying to keep my tanks alive from enemy heavy tanks that are well supported coming through here. So I viewed that as a cost-effective push that half achieved what I wanted it to, but not whole achieved everything.
Definitely good push. A few things to improve, mainly just the AA situation, but no, definitely a solid push into Chariton. You definitely captured the zone, which put us back up to a +2.
Shucks, I'm blushing. Okay, so speaking of, though, we are at a +2. It's 145 points to 111. And a big part of that was the counter cap in Dimitri. So player 23 brought up the counter cap here, and this is really crucial, because if they still had that, we'd be 0-0, we'd be up by maybe 10 points. And then if things went bad on the left again, that would be sort of the end of it, and if things went bad in the center. But speaking of the center, I mean, this is pretty far forward. It looks like you guys even have Motostrelki, you've captured a couple of cargoes. Not for long, but I mean, what cleared that out? I see some napalm there. Was that a thermo mig, or what was the deal?
I'll be honest, I can't remember. I'd have to go back and watch it, but I think it was a combined push of Jurgen and Motostraki and some Sparto. I know the Sparto died They got caught by some Abrams, but it was a
Gotcha.
combined push between me and
Player
David O.
23 or not? Yeah, okay. And you can see the leftover from cluster just everywhere. Look at that.
Yeah.
But you know, it doesn't harm infantry, right? So riflemen are still alive if they were near there, and there were a couple other units that were near there as well. Sorry, just taking a look. Now my spat bulbs are arriving. So if I'd had the foresight to bring them in earlier, I mean, these guys are motorized, they're very quick. Just a little bit of a slip there, a macro slip on my part. Although I think the other day you did give me the somewhat compliment of I have a knack for bringing in the wrong thing at the wrong time, so...
Yeah. Right now I'm sending some of my Scott 2s down the middle to see what I see, test their defenses, and
so
just make them panic a bit.
This is something you said earlier, I think, a couple weeks ago, which was just always try and get things around, always try and probe your enemy's defenses. Is it still worth doing with like 10, 15 point vehicles, knowing that you could lose 30, maybe 45 or 60 points just without any sort of return?
It really depends on the vehicle. Like the Scott 2s, they're 10 points, but they're nothing to write home about. They're just going to get your infantry to the front line. They got a bit of armor and a PKT. I think
guns,
the
not
value,
KE, right?
yeah. I think the value that they could get as discount recon is more than they could ever get as fire support.
Gotcha. And speaking of, this was my artillery firing over there from the Orcon, and I don't think it really did all that much. But, I don't know, I mean, the Leopard 185's definitely panicked, but that wasn't me that finished it off, that was the Mi-17 here. That always just amazes me when these guys get kills on armor, but, I mean, shit, they can do it. So then the Salamander taking out that anti-air was beautiful.
The Chaparral, yeah. We really were doing a number on their AA on this side, which really allowed me to push in with my Mi-17s and Salamandra.
That usually seems pretty key. I mean, planes and helicopters are force multipliers, and they're really excellent force multipliers. But if you can't keep them alive, they just become expensive wastes of time. And so targeting your opponent's AA, it seems like one of the crucial steps to making a really asymmetrical engagement is take out their AA, then use your own air support, but it has to be in that order.
Yeah.
Pushing up this Commander Marine getting wrecked.
Absolutely wrecked, yeah. Mi-17s are brutal to go up against.
Yeah. So your Spado get a little bit isolated here, it looks like. Yeah. H.A. Abrams will do that to you. But, I mean, this is that forward section of forest that you were talking about previously, and the CC are here, Spado are here. I'm curious, why not push up the spikes at this point, right? Like, move them up along this road? Was that sort of something that's too risky, or what's the deal?
You don't get many of them, and they're quite expensive. I'd rather them in a defensive position. Plus, I didn't know the enemy's recon at the time, so one quickly spotted and then mortared to death, and you lost a valuable 20-point unit. So.
Gotcha.
Go
ahead.
Oh, sorry. I do push up a ATGM every now and then up into that side, and especially during this match. But they kept getting killed.
Gotcha.
So.
I mean, right here it looks like they're getting good enough value. That's another Sheridan dead, which is another 35 points, and a couple of transports as well. So, I mean, hey, defensive but consistent, so that seems to be worthwhile. Spike team maybe getting the Abrams? Jeez, look at that. And the other ones, okay. I see. This seems like just, be smart instead of be too aggressive.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm going to flip back over to this side of the field just because we were making a good situation a little bit better. I think at this point we have spat bulbs just everywhere now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, just saturating here. My opponent did bring in a longbow, and that was really a big issue. You can see it's actually hovering. We saw it just blip right there over to that woods. And I'm trying to get Pato through, trying to get Mechanizovna forward, and the idea with these guys was just get somewhere where they can put the boom bar online back here into my opponent's support and hope for the best. But I probably should have been doing that with Recon, so a bit of a mistake on my part, I think. On the other hand, Graniciari, these guys seem pretty useless in combat to me. So.
Yeah. The other thing with the spot bulb tree is they're not only AA, they melt infantry as well. So.
That they do, especially infantry that can't shoot back. So there's a fair amount of, what are they called? The American grenade launcher infantry, the...
Navy SEALs.
Yeah, Navy SEALs, exactly. And they got kind of just wrecked by both threes in a couple of occasions. It was really pretty funny. We've missed one of those already, so at this point though, I want to point something out. So the longbow's hovering right here above these woods, and I think I saw that, and I thought about pushing up the spat bulbs, and I didn't, and instead we're about to see the Orkan fire. And this is cluster, but it does have, you know, it has an arc to it, right? So it does have some height, and it drops down from above when those cluster munitions go off. And we're going to hit that section of woods right before I push, so I'm bringing in some more reinforcements, some T-55s, and then the Orkan is, I just want to see this, if we can get it. Yeah, I mean, the longbow got one more kill right at the end of it against an M84 and AN, which was annoying, because it was right down this section. Like, I think it was the slope that let him see it, and I didn't think he had that line of sight. But, yep, there it is. 1, come on, 2, 3, and let's just take a look, because you can do a number on helicopters with Arty, and that was something that really surprised me when I was first getting into the game. So we should see, yep, there it is, and bam.
First shot, first kill.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I think people don't tend to realize that there is multiple ways to kill a helicopter without AA. You can fire pods if they're if they're hovering low off the ground. You can fire pods with cannons like BMP-1s or tank cannons just below them, and it will splash up and damage them. You can drop bombs near them. There's lots of ways. I
remember one time I bombed a Ruavalk because he didn't move, and I was just like, well, I mean, my opponent I think had a Ruavalk just kind of sitting on the open plain just like this for maybe 3 or 4 minutes, and I was just sitting there going, okay, now I have the points for a bomber, so sure. But it was certainly weird, and now I'm going around the side again, so M84A and leading the way, OAT Tab 71s, and this led to something. We'll go back over to the main bit as well, because there's a lot happening here. So there's a big push right into Elena, Spado, Motostrelki, Pion. A lot happens right at once, and I do apologize for that. It's the curse of these big team games, but there was an engagement here that was really pretty cool. So the M84AN shooting in, and just we spot an enemy heavy tank. Yeah, that's not it. That's a Humvee. That's a dead Humvee. Well, we'll pop back over here in just a minute. I apologize. It's just so much going on. Nighthawk coming in from Honda Hun, who was over on my side, but this looks like a good one. Yeah, that's dead Spado.
Yeah, definitely finished off a lot of my Spado there, but SG-24M to return the favor, but gets sniped by the Patriot.
Jeez.
After dropping his payload.
I mean, that's 2 US players, so that's up to 4 Patriots that could have been on the field if they were down-vetted, I think.
That's it.
Yeah, that's pretty rough. Anyway, Spat Boves, I mean, that's another Cobra kill. It's 55 points right there, and now we're starting to get some vision around the side, just being this thing's fragile optics being what they are. And I think this is the heavy tank I was looking for, so let's just say, yep, M1A2, 180 point tank. And without me saying anything else, how do you, Quicksilver, how do you think this tank dies? That's my question.
I'm gonna assume the Spat Bob stuns the hell out of it.
You know, I wish that were true. So we do get a couple shots on, actually got, I think, 2 points of damage there. Let me just take a look. In again, nope, just 1. Yeah, just 1.
Which is still pretty impressive for a gun I don't think has AP.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the rate of fire right there. So my M84's poking forward. I hadn't quite seen the M1A2. I mean, lots of tanks can kill a Spat Bove, right? So I knew there was a tank there. I figured it was another M1. I figured very wrong. But, I mean, that's why I should have had recon on that side moving forward up the left instead of just sitting back here with the M84AN. So, there is... Nope, there's the infantry. You know what? Let's just get right to it because I'm into a long enough recording anyway, and this was pretty crazy. So, there it is. That's the M1A2? Yeah, that's the M1A2. And he has 9 points of strength left. And this is what I was... I mean, I love the M84ANs, and first shot in, does 1 single point of damage, right? Would you believe me if I told you the M84 is what gets the kill?
You know what, I would. I've seen M84s do things I did not think was possible.
Yeah, I mean, fair. So the first shot, this is what did it. So he turned the M1A2 when he lost vision on the M84AN, and that side shot took him down to a single point left. Just that little bit of positioning made such a huge difference. Last shots, well, second to last shot. And, come on, baby, where's the kill? There it is. Dead M1A2.
It really goes to show the importance of recon.
Yeah. I mean, because if he hadn't lost line of sight, the M1A2 would have stayed facing the M84AN, and there's no way I would have gotten through it and what was left of my ammunition. So, I think there was a comment recently on one of my videos that said, every engagement here seems so 50-50. I disagree with that so completely. It's amazing. I mean, the intricacies of any single engagement are just huge, and too much for me oftentimes. That's why I'm a lowly sergeant. But what do you think about all of that?
Look, there are so many variables into this game on how an engagement goes that the best you can do is set up those variables in your favor. I don't think it's a flip of a coin. It's more of the consistency of your units, or more accurately, the what units you bring out. The fight.
Gotcha. By the way, that was a bit of a kill steal there, so my Oricon just wolfing a CV away from a missile already on the way from my 24 VP. But I guess just the last thing on that, like, I guess you could say, like, if you took two identical tanks, put them in the middle of a field, got them into engagement range at the same time, that's your only true coin flip. But we've watched nearly 35 minutes of a replay, and I've yet to see that situation happen even once. Because there's always support, there's always recon, there's always ATGMs. There's just so much going on all the time. So, yeah. Well, that's probably as much as I should complain about that. But if you do like hearing me complain, and you're still here after all of this time, after all of this just whining and looking through at a replay, and you haven't hit like, share, subscribe, and the stupid stuff that I still have to ask for, honestly, it helps. I know you guys don't see the metrics on the back end, and I know I feel kind of scummy asking, but it does help. So at this point, we had most of Chariton. Once I got the M1A2 down, I was able to sort of edge things out in the left here, get some infantry forward, get some supporting fire forward, and we did still have to watch out for a couple of helicopters, but it honestly wasn't too bad. We had the points advantage, and that, I mean, 8 minutes left in the game. It kind of snowballed a little bit on this side of the map. So we took out their command vehicle, there goes Chariton.
Meanwhile, we started actually making a breakthrough through the mid and finally clearing up these units. I got Spetsnaz crew and 2 Spike clones up into the forward position, which is never good for an armored player.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty brutal right there, look at that. I mean, why aren't they shooting at the M1, by the way?
They're on the other side of the building. I do move them up here in a second.
So, how do you get them from one side of the building to the other? Because
so you have to right click on the vehicle or a tank that's coming in. I think they come here and kill the IP Abrams or the M901.
Gotcha. But this can also protect you from line of sight from things like helicopters too, right? Stuff that's trying to shoot in.
100%. As far as I know, there's no way to move them around without like positioning them out of a building. I know you can like tell them to like get out of the back of the building and stop them before they do. They'll move them around the building. So Spike going in to the M1 IP Abrams, not a fair fight.
Yeah, no, not really. I mean, T80 supporting as well, so that's just a recipe for disaster. A nice little ATGM vehicle, though. Wish it had more punch for 40 points, I guess that's my only complaint there, but still, good positioning on that. Just sort of too much going on at this point, not in his favor, I think. And we have about 3 minutes left in the match, and I think let's go a little bit quick through it, because this has been a long one. Quicksilver, I gotta thank you for joining for the replay. It's always a pleasure to have you, and honestly, you add so much to just the analysis that we're able to put up there. I really appreciate it.
Look, I'm always happy to come and help do a replay, especially if it involves me kicking some butt, which I certainly think I did this game.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, that center hold, I think, saved Elena at the beginning, because if you didn't have the spike teams up here and those M1 Abrams got in, and they're decent knife fighters, really. I mean, good armor with good support. I mean, they can be really rough to deal with.
Once they get into the forest, they and supportive infantry, they are absolutely lethal.
Turns out they don't like ATGMs to the side, though. Who would have figured?
Who would have guessed?
Yeah. Well, let's take a quick look at the kills and losses, and I think we'll see your units that did well here too, so we should point out a couple of MVPs. 42.95 to 32.55 for your kills losses, 34.50 to 23.80 for mine, and the team went about 3,000 points positive, so pretty good game all around. You don't always have that sort of thing. Unicorn units, your spike teams, holy cow, man. Beautiful positioning. That's all I have to say. Yeah, and then the Rock 91 did pretty well. Spado, Salamandra, Pion, just lots of good units. Alright, well, thank you guys for hanging around. That's all we've got for you guys today, and we'll see you again real soon.